PHAHAME, March 10, 2019. Beloved, light of life, as you live it and as you see it wherever you look, the process of establishing the truth is unfolding a little more every day. Our song has amplified, the one of the awakening, the one that after the celebration of the four living ones, allows you to find yourself beyond any form, in the first truth of your essence, since these past few days. You are now countless to celebrate the light, to celebrate love. Whether it is in this place, whether it is simply by seeing our images on your modern means, you will see that you are touched in the heart, and you will see, if it has not already been done, that nothing can be the same as before, that nothing of what was illusory can remain. It fills you with joy, smiles, and sometimes at the same time tears that consist in leaving behind what has only passed. All the stories, all the incarnations, all the sufferings lift, as the joys in this world, as you can see, no longer represent anything compared to the beauty of the ineffable, both within you and everywhere on this planet. Many signs and many elements are revealed to you and reveal in the same way to all consciences, whether human or not, the reality of what is happening and which will accelerate from now on without ever knowing the slightest pause. With each celebration you make, whether alone, with two people, with several people, more and more of you find yourselves in each other, more and more of you realize that the truth is not related to the person or to history, but simply to the present moment and to the zero time that is unfolding in a formal way, in a visible way from now on, from everywhere on this earth. We too, the people of the sea, guardians of your awakening and your dream, celebrate every day and every moment, as soon as we are given the opportunity to be able to find you on our waters, to come and commune with you, to come and awaken and reveal what you think is still to be revealed, your deep and eternal essence, independent of everyone. The critical mass is now largely reached and exceeded, allowing us to say yes collectively to the light. Whatever the despair, whatever the suffering, whatever your state of consciousness, you find in whatever situation that only the light is the cause, the source, the truth, that lets you back to what you have always been. There, the laughter and tears, the lightness and density, the modification of your bodies and your physiological and metabolic functions, can leave no doubt about the truth of what has lived in your flesh, and from everywhere on this planet. The celebration of the four living beings, the fusion of the Thes, restore you to your first freedom, that where there is neither inside nor outside, where everything is the miracle of one thing, of one consciousness. This undoubtedly marks the end of fragmentation, the end of suffering, the end of illusions, and, above all, the end of the dream of creation. That's where you find the truth. It finds you before you find it, from the moment you accept and embrace the totality of the light, whose weight will become much more intense than all the heaviness of your world, your life or your body. I would like to remind you, above all, that there is no need for effort, that there is no need for research, but that it is enough simply to let what is happening pass, and to have this absolute faith in the light that is coming, even if you do not yet perceive it in its entirety. To let the light be is to let yourself be in the first truth, ignoring the character, the sufferings, the pains, the causes and the explanations, which allows you to place yourself more and more instantaneously in the essential truth of the heart, in the experience of what is called the sacred fire of the heart. This is your truth, your primary emanation. Childbirth has taken place. It remains for you to lay down today the last weapons of your habits, the last weapons of the mind, the need to understand, the need to appropriate yourself, in order to embrace in totality, making you discover in totality, that too, the gift of life, the gift of your presence, the gift of grace, the gift of love. As soon as you release your person's attention to any object or subject, you will immediately notice that just after or just behind, there is laughter and tears. There is no need for comments, no need for explanations, because laughter and tears are only a reunion with what you have always been and which had been forgotten. Every consciousness of the earth, wherever it is located, in whatever kingdom, participates in this celebration which becomes planetary and which concerns the whole dream of creation, in whatever dimension, in whatever place or at whatever time. Zero time is the bomb, zero time signs the awakening, zero time signs the end of the dimensional frameworks, the end of the planetary spheres, in order to find and live in a dwelling place of supreme peace, where there is no need for a cause, no answer, no form, no world. You cannot be deceived by what is happening from the moment you embrace, from the moment you begin to perceive what is happening in your chest. You do not need an anteriority, you do not need a reference point, even if indeed these reference points have been given to you for some in order, in whatever way, to reassure you, for those who would still have doubts about what is happening. The safe conduct is never in an external certainty, but in this inner certainty that unfolds majestically in different ways, within you and around you, leading you every day to reposition yourself more and more precisely on the beatitude of eternity and on eternal happiness, making you recover your natural state that depends neither on a world, nor on a form, nor on a consciousness, nor on a history, nor on any future. In every circumstance of your lives, whatever the state and whatever the stratum where your consciousness is located, it will lead inexorably and very quickly to the recognition of who you are, beyond consciousness, beyond the eternal I. This natural state suffers no opposition, no contradiction, and puts an end to the questioning with absolute certainty. And more of you are seeing it, living it, with laughter and tears that have no subject or object, but that reveal to you the ineffable beauty of who you are, covering, soothing and ending suffering of any kind. Of course, and as you can see if you have the opportunity to look at this, the elementary activity of the earth will soon reach a paroxysm that no one can ignore, whether at the level of the waters, whether at the level of the fire of volcanoes, whether at the level of the earth or at the level of your heavens, or at the level of the air. There will now be almost total synchronicity between your individual inner experience, whether it concerns vibrations, whether it concerns a consciousness, laughter and tears, whether it concerns external events. This was called the conjunction of the simulacrum and the sacred at zero time that is unfolding at this very moment, in this month of March, and which will be amplified every day both between your experience and in the experience of the whole planet and of creation. Every day, our song sounds and touches your heart. More and more of you are realizing that we are also within you, and this revelation within you signs the awakening of humanity, signs the end of the dream, the end of suffering and the end of everything that could be despair or hope. For it is placed in the present moment, it is placed in eternity, and it is placed in these moments. Above all, and I repeat this insistently, remember that the more you agree to do nothing, the more you agree to let what has always been unfold from your heart be what it has always been, unfolding from your heart, leading you to live the fire of the sacred heart, not only in the heart, but in the most vital parts of your body, but also on earth, as is happening at this very moment. The intensity of the light, the waves of the light, whether galactic, intergalactic, or concerning this solar system, will combine their effects in a very few days, in order to amplify the process of deployment of the emanation of the Absolute within this world itself. Remember that the only certainty, the only truth you can live, will be in the heart, letting what is, without thinking, without asking for anything, without projecting anything, and without referring to any known or lived experience in your past. This total surrender of the conscious and unconscious mechanisms of the person and the personality is really overwhelmed and largely covered by the consciousness, by the emanation of the radiation of the sacred fire from your heart. You cannot look for anything about this, you cannot hope for anything or even ask for it to appear, because indeed, as has been said, it is enough for you simply to embrace all of life, without making any difference, without making any distinction, under any circumstances whatsoever. This learning is done extremely quickly, because as soon as you have experienced it even once, you will find that it is the only solution, the only answer to any question, to any interrogation, to any suffering. Love makes you discover or rediscover the gift of grace, simplicity, obviousness, transparency, and the path of childhood, the one who does not care about tomorrow or yesterday and who plays in the sacred space of the present moment, ignoring all the rules, all the social or moral conventions, to find that freedom so much awaited, so much hoped for, or so much feared. At the intensity with which you remain calm, in the same way the intensity of the unfolding of the sacred fire of the heart to the ends of your body and consciousness, occurs each time with more and more intensity, leading you to understand through experience what is happening in you, leading to the acceptance, leading to the progressive or brutal inability not to see anything else in any appearance or situation, other than the evidence of love in action, the deployment of truth, the deployment of perpetual beatitude. You are invited, perhaps not all of you, to come and see us, but in any case to look, to listen to our songs, and to realize that we are inside you, not only in your body, but in each of your cells. During my last speech, I had the opportunity to talk to you about the 4 living beings, also concerning the 4 components of what you call DNA. This DNA, which now resonates on the frequency of the truth of the light, can no longer be accommodated with a certain number of conditions that previously existed concerning all your needs related to this body, of whatever nature. Each of you is now and very soon able to distinguish clearly and obviously what is of the order of illusion, from what is of the order of truth, and this without any duality, without any judgment and without any restriction. You then encompass the whole of creation, and you realize at that moment that everything that has happened until now, that all previous experiences, like all sufferings, like all joys, no longer represent anything compared to the beauty of love, to the beauty of Agape. The fire of the Sacred Heart asks only one thing, it is to emanate from you spontaneously, from the moment you no longer seek it, from the moment you no longer question it, from the moment when acceptance and embrace become unconditional, permanent, and makes you live the essential, putting an end to what was happening. This can, of course, mean a number of readjustments in your personal lives, whether it concerns certain insights into certain relationships, whether it is simply the revelation of the truth around you. Of course, many human brothers and sisters are not yet fully ready, even if they are close to living the sacred fire of the heart. Do not be surprised by the possible reactions or contradictions that exist not in you, but in relation to certain oppositions to the fire of the Sacred Heart. You can well imagine that many brothers and sisters are not yet quite ready to abandon all to blend into the unspeakable. These are the last claims of spiritual-consciousness, which you should see clearly, otherwise you will have to wait for the collective and final moment. You are committed to living the joy of your eternity, whatever the state of your body, whatever the state of what you call your finances, whatever your situation. This is present in abundance, it is at the disposal of every breath, every glance you take, from the moment you are immersed, no longer in the history of the person, but simply in what was named the observer, which inevitably and very quickly leads to the eternal I, where there is no longer any need to do anything, where you are conscious, at the limit of spiritual-consciousness and extinction of consciousness, which was named I believe the ultimate presence, and which obviously brings you to where you have never moved, where you have always been. No appearance of this world, no suffering of this world, no contingency of this world, no obligation of this world, can and will not stand up to the evidence of who you are. It is appropriate for you to be frank, it is appropriate for you to dare, it is appropriate for you to accept, it is appropriate for you to embrace and follow the lines of least resistance, which are illuminated in front of you as well as within you. This is the only truth, putting an end to suffering, putting an end, as I said, to hopes and despair, putting an end to doubt, and, above all, putting an end to all questioning. Remember that each of you, beyond any Agape celebration, has the real, concrete and immediate possibility to name my name, which is much more than my name, but which is the sign of your awakening and the call to your awakening. This is happening as we speak, and it will increase every day. You will only be able to see it, even if you don't see it yet. There is no other possible alternative, there is no possible choice, because that is what you have chosen. The truth, and only the truth. There is no longer any need for history, no need to understand, no need to grasp anything, because at that moment, you can only give yourself entirely to each other, to life, to each conscience, and you will see that it is not possible to do otherwise as soon as the sacred fire of the heart manifests itself from your heart chakra. Bliss will unfold more and more with a lucidity that is not a disappearance for the moment, but I would say more of an awareness of a consciousness within the heart of the heart. From this is born the sacred fire of the heart, what was called the soul and the spirit, a result in the same equation of the new triunity of the Eucharist, that is, in Christ, Mary, Michael, beyond the archetypes, beyond all history, in the truth of your ineffable being, containing the whole creation. There is no longer any distance between each of you, no longer any distance, even if we are not in the same element, between you and us. Distance is no longer an obstacle, nor is the image, because it brings you to the same truth simply by listening to us, simply by watching us approach you. Whether it is on an image or in the flesh, it makes no difference. And more of you will testify to this. We are the agents who have watched over you until those blessed times that we saw in December of your previous year. The song of all cetaceans resounds from all over the earth, awakening all consciences to this ineffable truth, to the ineffable beauty of what is before any creation. You are also more and more numerous to notice that there is no longer any significant reluctance to this absolute. There is no longer any fear of the unknown for all of you who let the fire of the Sacred Heart emerge, leading you to realize that the absolute is not nothing, that the absolute is not the shadow, that the absolute is what underlies creation in each cell, in each atom, as in each creation, as in each dream. This is the ineffable truth and beauty. You are now, from now on, and in concrete terms, and no longer only at the level of what was called the essence, really connected to each other, and much more than that. you will find that you are totally interchangeable. This means that there is no longer any possibility of considering yourself only as a body or only as a linear story, taking you out of all conditioning frameworks, all societal frameworks, all moral frameworks, all educational frameworks, in order to regain your entirety and freedom. It is priceless. It cannot equal any present of this world, it cannot equal any vision of this world or any achievement of this world, because it transcends all worlds and brings you to the origin of the worlds, where you have always been. Many of you also perceive and feel the solar disk, which is no longer in your sky, but is above your head or inside your heart. You are really, concretely, materially and physically absorbing creation, and as you become more aware of the absorption of creation, you notice that the worst of the enemies is obviously present within you and that all creation without exception, even in the most vitiated elements, is only you in its entirety, in its integrity. This is transmutation. It makes it possible to establish more and more certain transparency in order not to stop anything, not to freeze anything, not to ask for anything, and to give you everything. The gift of yourself is not an act of your will, is not a decision you can make, but simply a total embracing of everything that can happen, beyond all understanding, beyond all experience, and which leads you, without being able to define words, to know the unknown, to live it and manifest it, making this particular phase of creation and humanity a unique moment. This unique moment is the moment of solving the equation of all the worlds, of all the creations, of the notions of evolution or involution, which no longer have any meaning, which no longer represent anything, from the moment when the sacred fire of the heart carries you away and transports you to the most intimate part of you, where everything is included, where there can be no division, no separation, no judgment, and where the absolute and integral forgiveness of everything that has been lived without any exception becomes the same effectiveness. It is not you who ask for forgiveness, but it is the light that is forgiveness itself, corresponding to the state of grace and the action of grace. This celebration will become permanent and perpetual as more and more of you experience this sacred fire of the heart in different ways, but in the full heart of your heart chakra, on this extremely limited area that was named, and is still named, the heart chakra. This heart chakra, which is the rhythm of life, the rhythm of worlds, the rhythm of breathing, and which contains, as you have always been told, the whole creation. The archangels are in you, the icons too. There is nothing to divide. It has been a vision of fragmented consciousness, even awakened, but this can no longer be the case as soon as the fire of the Sacred Heart enters into emanation and manifestation in you as everywhere on the planet from your heart. Thus, and as you will see and observe more and more frequently, the Agape celebration will become perpetual and permanent, making it possible to establish ever more firmly the emanation of the unknown within the known, and the effects of this emanation on all the consciences present within the creation, making you admit, agree, that joy grows as external chaos grows, which is nothing more than the disappearance of the fallacious decor of life, nothing more than successive experiences in the midst of joy and suffering. So it is the end of pain, whatever pain you still have. It is the end of suffering, whatever your residual suffering. It is the end of all illusions, all struggles. It is the end of everything that was apparently separated in a different form. There is no difference between anyone, there is no difference between any world, ending the notion of distance, ending the notion of time, ending the notion of dimensions in order to find what you have always been, and which has never moved, and which has never unfolded, and yet contains all deployments, all forms, all manifestations, all energies and all worlds. Through this awareness that calls you to remain calm, joy is amplified in a disproportionate way. Moreover, your cells constituting your body begin to tingling, to vibrate, begin to sparkle in some part of your body, reflecting not the appearance, but the emanation of your body of eternity, which until now has doubled and doubled your physical body, which will be and become independent of your physical body and your personal consciousness. This is already happening for a number of you and is set to increase in an increasingly visible, expressive and thundering way, if I may say so. At that moment, there can no longer be any doubt between the truth and the relative truth that existed within the creations. Childbirth is in progress. Many of you have given birth, some of you are living it now, and it will become more and more evident and strong. It is no longer up to you, you just have to be Agape, to celebrate, to love everything in the same way, without making any difference between anyone, between anything, and any situation. Then at that moment, fame will be in you, PHAHAME will be in your heart, fame will be in your cells, allowing you to find yourself beyond all feminine and all masculine, within the primordial androgynous, thus noting the changes in your point of view, the disappearance even from all points of view. This is what reveals you to yourself, this is what lightens you up, and it is the repairing balm for everything that may still appear in relief, or in resistance in your life. As Abba has named your surrender, unconditionally, you will witness the finalization of your resurrection. Joy will be present everywhere in you, whatever the circumstances. Certainly, as I said, some tears may then flow. These tears are only tears of reunion, tears of mourning for what has weighed you so much, but also for what you have hoped for so much in this world. No part of this world where we are together can achieve this, and yet the whole world is living it collectively. That is the great novelty. This phenomenon, which is unique in the history of creative dreams, was evidently written from the initial moment of the first birth. This is what you experience, this is what liberates you, this is what delivers you from the illusion of being locked up, from the illusion of being a body, from the illusion of being a story. And this without possible discussion, without possible questioning. You will then immediately notice the alleviation of your sufferings, the alleviation of your densities, the appearance of appendages linked to the body of eternity manifesting in different parts of your body, giving you a clear awareness of your body of eternity, which now lives within you, but also outside you. Spirit consciousness sees consciousness. It is from your body of eternity or from the naked consciousness that you will leave your body, and you will see that you are not that body. And that is how you will discover the truth that is not linked to the forms of this world, nor to a form of any world. This is how you discover that you are at the origin of the dream and that you contain all the dreams, because everything has already been experienced. It will be a relief, it will be a bliss, it will be so evident that you will never again be able to look back, that you will never again be fooled by the constraints of this world, whether they are societal or simply linked to action-reaction. Silence. Then, PHAHAME will participate more and more often, with the people of the sea, in your celebrations, whatever they may be. Whether these are carried out between two, between several, in a more or less important group, I will be among you, in your midst, facilitating the emergence of the impersonal and the total freedom of the one who evolves in the most ethereal worlds of the creation of this plan, the one who is named Ayoun. I also invite you to listen again to what was said by Enolwydden and the Impersonal a few years ago, because it will find a resonance in you, which will allow you, through listening, to free the sacred fire of the heart, without any ambiguity, in the same way as when you listen to me now, and it will be the same in every celebration you will organize, that you will live. This celebration becomes perpetual. Nor will you find that it does not need and no longer needs any intention on your part, for the celebration is the natural emanation of the fire of the Sacred Heart. Celebration of life, celebration of who you are, beyond all consciousness and form. Thus certainty is established, an unshakable certainty that is no longer faith, but the real experience that you are one and the other, that you are the same dream, and that everything is in you, and that ultimately there has never been anyone. We are, in a way, the liaison between the first dream and the last dream, the one you are living at this very moment. This, do not accept it as mere words that are spoken, or even vibrations that you are receiving right now, but simply as an opportunity to verify it in all the circumstances of your lives. And the more you let go, and the more you embrace, and the more you live it, and it cannot be otherwise. At no time can there be a return to a past that no longer exists. At no time can there be a return to a history that is perpetuated in any dimension. For he who lives this, and you are, after all called upon to live it, of course, can no longer need the slightest form, the slightest expression of consciousness, in any dimension whatsoever, because you will see clearly, as you are told, that everything has already been lived from all eternity and is written in the initial moment, which is nothing more than the final moment of the dream. In my intervention today, I will now leave between each expression of what I have to say to you, a time of silence, in order to allow you to embrace what has been said by my previous words, with a particular intensity, because my words are conveyed beyond the words, by the word, but especially by the radiance of the Sacred Heart. Silence. Know also that we will have more and more intentions to meet you in the flesh, whatever the seas, whatever the places, because we know that if we touch you and surprise you, when you are on our element, what we resonate with you when we approach you, resonates because of the absence of separation from now on all the consciences of all humanity, like all the consciences present on the surface of the earth, like on the surface of any creation. It cannot be otherwise. It is our goal, it is our decision, but it is also yours. You have accepted, you have embraced, you have demonstrated the reality and the veracity of Agape love. Now it remains for you to share the good news in the whole of creation. This is what is happening and what will happen, in an increasingly urgent way for each of you, even in unusual places, that you could name places of bathing. We will approach you, we will even come to leave our bodies on your shores, in order to show you that we are free from this body that we have loathed, and in which we have lived to accompany you since time immemorial. Because the time does come to leave what is dead, the time does come to be life, the time does come to be love. You need nothing else, because you are nothing else of what may have passed, whatever the apparently endured sufferings, whatever the few sufferings or significant sufferings you may still experience. You see for yourself that love takes everything, and that even if the anomaly and suffering is still present, love is still present, which shows you a form of decoupling between suffering and the person, and, above all, a decoupling between the supra-consciousness and suffering. This is how the sacred fire of the heart magnifies itself in you and allows the whole world to benefit from the creation of this good news. So we celebrate the good news now. I told you, every agape, every occasion, every time you look at us, every time you look away from your story, every time you look away from your person, every time you look away from your character, if you just look at what is happening in your heart, whether you perceive it or not, because it happens for everyone, whether you perceive it, whether you perceive its vibrations or energy, whether you perceive it at all, does not make any difference from now on, because you have gone through what was to be gone through. It is now time to mourn what might seem like mourning to you, but which is in fact only the last reticence to this unknown person who is being revealed, the last reticence to love because of the experiences taken in this world. By leaving it, you will know that you have nothing to fear, that your body can be carried away by disease, by suffering, by death. It will not change anything because you are alive from now on. You will also notice that even if there were visions of any kind within you, that they will seem futile and useless to you from now on, because you will notice that no vision can equal the whiteness and purity of love, that no vision can approach that which has no vision and where nothing is visible, and yet which enters into emanation and manifestation, through your character, right here, on this world, and therefore in the whole of creation. Even if there are many questions in you, about what is happening in your bodies, if you let go of these questions, if you put back an intellectual understanding that no longer needs to be later, you will experience direct understanding through living, beyond any vision, simply through perceptions of what did not exist around you until now, and which is nothing other than all the worlds, which is also in you, and which is emanated from your heart. This radically changes your functioning mechanisms, even within your personal life. There is an ability that will unfold, if it is not already done so, to be inserted in an increasingly constant way into the present moment and its beatitude, ignoring any implication, moral, societal, emotional, proving to you what freedom is to you, where there is no dependence, but where there is simply resonance, where there is simply agape. Silence. Every day that will therefore pass, from this day, March 10th of your year 2019, will bring you countless proofs of who you are, will bring you countless revelations as to the mechanisms that you do not yet understand, and that yet you are living. Nothing can remain hidden, everything must be crossed, everything must be embraced, because it is from there that the sacred fire of the heart is born, and not that after any exercise, even if indeed you have the means to feel this sacred fire of the heart in an extremely simple way. It seems to me that Eva spoke to you about touch, simply, in Agape. It seems to me that you have also heard about some minerals. They are only crutches that may actually help you on this day, or in the next few days. In any case, you will soon realize that you no longer need anything, no more explanations, no more confirmation, no more stories, no more characters. The beatitude will be such that many of you will experience what Ma Anandamoya described to you in her time concerning the experience of her last life, which will manifest itself in each of you, in an obvious way. This is already the case with your needs, whether physiological, sexual, emotional, nutritional, of any kind. You will find that you do not need anything, and that everything is complete as such. This will bring, whatever the events, a new lightness to your experience, to what remains to be lightened, to what remains to be passed, to what remains to be crossed. This evidence, this total faith, is not what you would call the faith of the coal merchant, I believe, but rather the faith of the one who lived the truth and who burns with love for this truth. This consummation is very real. Many of you are beginning to live it, whether by the extremities, or by the heart. This consummation is very real. It consumes only what is ephemeral and reveals the diamond of your heart, where everything is transparent, where everything is evident, and where everything is beautiful. Silence. Many of you are also called to manifest in an evident way what was named in history in earlier times, the charisms of the Spirit. Whatever these charisms are, whatever discoveries you live, whatever discoveries you make, whether it concerns telepathy, the mystical processes in their totality, you will experience them, but you will not be attached to them. They are simply things that reveal to you even more the truth of who you are, beyond any manifestation, as well as any experience. Moreover, you will also notice that nothing will be able to interest you beyond this bliss, putting an end to all obligations, as I said, but also to the ultimate reluctance. The unknown has become known, the unknown becomes known. It is a source of bliss, it is a source of transparency, it is a source of fraternity, beyond races, beyond species, as in every world. Silence. We, the people of the sea, will celebrate even more during this month of March 2019, whether by approaching you, by resonating with our songs as well as with our bodies that come to rest on your shores of your oceans and seas. Only he who is in the person sees suffering, he who sees the truth sees only the deliverance of form. Depending on your point of view and where you are, of course, it may be joy or suffering, but even if it is suffering for you, you will easily and quickly notice that this suffering has no place and that it results only from the ultimate attachments not to habits, but to consciousness, and therefore to form. You are anterior to the form, and it is in this game, whether it is suffering or rejoicing, that you discover yourself totally and that you find yourself in freedom and beauty. Silence. I would also like to point out that whatever the maneuvers, and whatever the technical means implemented by those who do not recognize us other than as food, will also be affected by our presence. You will very quickly notice that those who are chasing us will no longer be able to escape our song, our love, which is also theirs. You will have reversals of situation, where the hunter no longer wants to hunt, where he just wants to commune and love. This will also happen to those whom you called, I believe, from the commander of the elders, the puppets. Some puppets will experience grace. It is not about strategy, but the truth is so intense that it can no longer leave the slightest maneuver or manipulation in action, as soon as you experience it, even if it is only for a breath. This will evidently change a lot of things in your apprehension and understanding of this world. This will show you what is in the background of the decoration of the shape. This will give you to live that you are also PHAHAME, as you are all living beings on the surface of this world as well as of everyone else. This way you will no longer be able to effectively make a difference between anyone and anything. So many of you are seeing the emergence within your inner screen, even with your eyes open to the presence of this white light that was named, which is still called the white paradise. This white paradise being at its peak, in a very short time, will allow the peak also of what was unknown. So rejoice, whatever your state today, because there can only be rejoicing, putting an end to all doubt, putting an end to everything that may still seem incomplete, or misunderstood. Silence. The light is no longer translated into calls, nor into injunctions, but simply into its complete establishment that you will not be able to ignore, readjusting, as I have said, certain shortcomings of habits to the form, but also certain repositionings of those who are afraid or who are opposed to the ultimate truth, by instinct of preserving the consciousness. This is how you too will be able to say, as Eber and Bide told you, that consciousness is a disease that is only passing away. Silence. You will also notice, and you are already seeing it, that the more you agree to release what you value, the more you receive. This will magnify the gift of self, the gift of love, the gift of grace, which will also occur spontaneously, that too, regardless of your will, simply through the lighting that is ongoing. Silence. PHAHAME will remain for a few moments in the silence of words, but in the emanation of the radiance of the sacred fire, by the sacred heart, of the whole people of the sea. Silence. PHAHAME, PHAHAME, PHAHAME. Silence. You will also notice, with increasing ease, that the fire of the sacred heart emanates from you in an increasingly constant way and needs no intention on your part, nor any desire on your part. He will touch everything you look at, everything you say, everything you touch. What was called centuries ago, the state of holiness, will be your daily lot, but not of a holiness that excludes itself from the world, but of a holiness that encompasses and includes everyone, without exception, as well as the whole of creation. Thus you are complete. Beyond the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, the primordial androgynous is really in manifestation and emanation. Many of you felt it in your heads. This was explained by Eber. I will not go back over it, because you don't need any other explanation, except to live it. You will also discover that you are at the origin of all creations as well as conscious co-creation, whatever its manifestation and expression, in any place of the universes and multiverses. Silence. You will also be able to see that you can literally fall into love, not from a human love, but from a transcendent love, by observing some element of the nature of this world, such as what can appear at night beside you, or around you as in you. The night being the moment and space of the dream becoming real. Do not be surprised if your dreams wake you up, because they are the truth. They do not need to be interpreted, they have no other need than to be there, and to make you live it beyond all understanding and explanation, the beauty of who you are. And from the moment you let go of the need, thereto, to explain and understand your dreams, but by embracing them in their entirety, you will discover that the sacred fire of the heart will come to take all the time and all your spaces. Silence. I would also like to point out that in your individual circumstances, in your life, if there is a feeling of lack of anything or suffering of any kind, thereto, embrace yourselves, without limit and without restraint, without question, in order to embrace your own history, your own resistance, your own habit, but also anything that may still seem to you to be bothering you. Again, don't believe me, but live it. And this is livable for each of you. There are no prerequisites, there are no preconditions. PHAHAME will end these words. But we will deploy together, in this moment as in any moment when you will listen to me and hear me, the fire of the sacred heart. Silence. PHAHAME, PHAHAME, and the whole people of the sea, Pay tribute to your courage, pay tribute to your presence, and pay tribute to each of you, from the sacred space of your heart. Silence. I will greet you on these words that are not words. Atonska Markaya. Bremiskaya. Atonska Anachi. Agape. Noha. Anoha. Atowns Markaya. Atowns Markaya. May peace, joy, love and truth be present from everywhere, in everyone and in everyone, with the same equality and intensity, with the same beauty. PHAHAME tells you every moment of your life, if you wish. So PHAHAME tells you always, every minute, every moment, because it is the best gift you can give yourself in this. We gave each other, we recognized each other. May the celebration of the four living ones be permanent, in your head and in your heart. No Honiskaya. No Honiskaya. No Hamis. Silence. I return to the heart of your heart, in the great silence, in the great presence. With love, I tell you at every moment if this is your wish, because it is our wish. There is no more distance. Goodbye. Through Jean-Luc Ayoun. Les Transformations. French transcript. Agape team. English translation. LMF.